One here.
Mhm.
We're going to start at, according to the time on the clock here, I have a 7:04. It's just going to turn. So we'll say we're starting it at 7:04. We're calling to order. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance. That's right here behind us. So if you want to just look on the screen, you can do that. And we'll just sit for it. So you ready? I will start. Pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of
United States
America,
of America
and
and
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
but
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Meeting is officially brought into order. I will do the roll call. And you remember, most of you are unmuted. So Mr. Antel?
Present.
Mr. Antel's present. Mr. Bartko?
Present here.
Okay. Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Very nice this evening. We can see all of you. Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Here. Mr. Fenn?
Here.
And Mr. Poliak, who's our host. So
Here.
Okay, great. So we have a full vote of council members present tonight. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And so we need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented to our council this
one for
evening.
me later. Hold on.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Can you
Like
hold
to have
on?
a
Did you want to
motion
add
for
something?
that?
Can you stop for a minute? I have to
Janet's
print.
making a motion. Thank you, Janet. You can raise your hand.
Betty,
That's good.
Betty needed to say something.
Thank you, Janet. Could you just hold for a minute? I have to pull up another.
Betty, are you
Print.
muted?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just give
No, you're
Betty
muted now.
1 minute. And just for the record too, we
Okay.
have 5 members of the public in attendance. Representative Romer is here. If you could add him to the list to be able to address the council and any other members of the public. If you go to the Q&A button, you can go ahead and put in the Q&A that you would like to speak in the open forum portion of the meeting. You just got to put your name and address into the Q&A and say that you want a chance to address the council.
Okay. So
Just have a quick question. Is there a way that we can link as council, as panelists, who is in the audience?
only if they identify themselves, yes. Right, Don? If they ask.
Yeah,
to
there.
speak.
I'm just curious who's with us tonight, since we're remote.
Marshall, can I just list out the people that are in attendance? Yep, okay. Mr. Hinkle is in, Representative Romer, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Todd Stewart is in, Richard and a Greg are in attendance at the council meeting.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Beside those that are on the screen, Janet, you see that our village engineer is here, Brian Gorog, and our fiscal officer, Betty Klingenberg. So, all right, along with the council members. So we would now that we've introduced that point and we haven't gone to open forum, we're still at approval of agenda, which was a motion was made by Mrs. Miller, who was a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ron. Mrs. Klingenberg, are you ready to take roll call? You're muted. Yeah.
No,
Okay, you're unmuted.
I was unmuted. Okay, Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Polak.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to adopt the agenda as presented to council has carried. We'll now go into open forum. I have one announcement to make, and then we'll go into any other presentations that we have there. I have a proclamation that we're sending to Ray Heatwall. I don't know if I'm going to take the time to read it tonight, but it will be available. I can send it around to all the council. And just thanking him for his 32 years of service. As many of you know, you've seen letters of thanks to him and that. So we're going to be presenting that proclamation to him. And we have a retired police badge, the chief. And we also have a retired ID card that Chief McCardle had made up. And then we have some cards from the different departments to send on
Oh, why did this happen?
the Chief Art Heatwall.
How did I get lost? I went blank. There.
Who's talking?
Janet,
Oh, what were you asking, Jen? Okay.
I just went, all of a sudden my screen went black. I don't know.
Oh, okay. You're on.
Sorry.
All right. So that's,
Mr.
we're going to
Mayor,
be doing that. Next, we're going to go into, you say Mr. Romer's on and he wants to speak. I don't know who came on first, Don. Can you tell that?
Yeah, there is, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring Mr. Romer in, and then it looks like Greg Sanders is also on. I'm not sure if he wants to address the council or not, but I'll go ahead and move Mr.
Okay.
Romer on
Okay.
first, so he can. Mr. Representative Romer, you're on. If you could go ahead and unmute, and you can even roll your video if you want to address the council.
Okay, you're still muted, it looks like. Hello, Mr. Romer.
Hi, everybody. It's Bill Romer. It's a pleasure to join your meeting under different circumstances. You know, I've obviously made the commitment to go to every community's meetings every year. It's a different kind of year. I think this is probably the 13th or 14th time I've participated in a Boston Heights meeting. It is kind of neat, though, to know that one of the bills I voted on, I think it was HB 166, that authorized the ability to do remote meetings like this. I've been able to participate in a number of them with other communities. I'm really just here to listen and learn as usual. We worked very, very diligently almost all throughout the pandemic in Columbus. And we are on summer recess right now. I've got a whole lot of stuff going on though. So as always, you know, feel free to reach out to me with any questions or comments. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill Romer. Bill Romer is representative from the 38th district in Ohio, and he's our representative. So if we have anything, and I have reached out to him several times on behalf of the village. So thank you, Bill.
You're very welcome, Mayor.
We got the House Bill 147, I think it was, that got passed, and I reached out to you to make sure that that was going, and that was money that was going to be used for our Boston Mills phase 3 and 4, which was underway, and we want to make sure
Yes.
that we could go ahead and do that. So thank you for that help and support on that, and any of the other bills that are in there for upcoming future year programs.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Polyak, you say we have someone else who'd like to speak.
I was mistaken. Mr. Sanders was just wanting to, because of his name only came up as Greg on the council. He on the on the Zoom. He just wanted to let everybody know that he was in attendance. He does not
Okay.
want to address the council. So it does not look like anyone else is asking to be a part of the open forum.
Oh, okay. We always hold open forum at the beginnings of the meeting so that any questions that want to be asked can be at that point. So seeing as Mr. Poliak has no one else showing there, we're going to go on with the agenda for this evening. The next is we have minutes to approve from the 2 June meetings. That's June 9th and June 23rd. Is it council's wish that we vote on these one vote, or you want to take them separately? Council have an opinion? Janet?
One vote's fine with me.
One
So I don't know.
vote's fine. Okay.
You
Anyone
can all
else have
count
an
yourselves if you want.
One vote, one vote.
One vote is good? All right. All right, so I would need a motion then to approve the minutes from June 9th, 2020 and June 23rd, 2020, our 2 council meetings of that month. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. It's Heather.
Thank you, Heather.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Ron. All right, let's have the roll call.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Minutes were approved. We'll move on to a motion to accept a donation from Dr. Jeff Binder. And that was a refrigerator that was accepted for the police department. The one we had was failing, and now the police department has one that they can use in the squad room. So need a motion to accept that into our inventory.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you, Don. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second it.
Mr. Barco, I believe? Okay. All right, roll call.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll now move into the ordinances for the evening. Ordinance 2020-7-19 is the first reading. I'll read the heading. It is an ordinance approving the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District Residential Program Plan. It authorizes and approves the execution, delivery, and performance of a village residential PACE cooperative agreement with respect to property assessed clean energy transactions in cooperation with the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District and the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority, and authorizing the Toledo-Lucas County Port Authority to approve petitions and plans for public improvements or public services submitted by the owner of real property within the village, requesting that their property be added to the territory of the Akron Summit County Energy Special Improvement District and assessed for the cost of such plans on behalf of the council of the village and declaring an emergency. I first ask for a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barco. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Roll call.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to suspend the rules are as carried. I would now ask for a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-7-19.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Barco. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. All right, okay, now we can have discussion. If you, this council may or may not remember, we discussed this to get into the residential PACE program with Summit County so that any residents who wanted to do energy improvements, such as windows, roofs, insulation, different things like that, that they needed help with, they could apply for money through this PACE program. And so we've agreed to become a member of the council to do so. Mrs. Klingenberg, do you have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay.
except.
Does anyone have
everybody-
any?
They were here at last meeting and discussed it, so I don't know if
Right.
anybody called them or not.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on what this is about or what this ordinance is? Okay, I see none. So we have a motion made by Mr. Barco, a second by Mr. Antel. Roll call.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, council. This becomes ordinance 2020-7-19. And anyone that you know who calls you, you can refer them to Village Hall, and we will get them in touch with the coordinators of the PACE program in Summit County. All right, our next ordinance is ordinance 2020-7-20. It's an ordinance extending retroactively ordinance number 2020-5-16 relating to the COVID-19 emergency and declaring an emergency. In order to consider this, we must suspend the 3 reading rule. So I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Fenn.
I'll second.
Mr. Antel, I believe, was next.
Yes.
I can tell, as you see, and the way I know that is when the screen around your picture gets a yellow frame on it. So, Mrs. Klingenberg, would you take the,
Okay, Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis, and Mrs. Miller.
Yes.
thank you. All right. That motion is carried, and now we need a motion to adopt ordinance 2020-7-20.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Heather Davis. Second. Okay. Do we have any discussion on this? This was something we discussed on the 23rd also. Are there any questions now? No? Okay. And seeing no questions, Mrs. Klingenberg, if you would take the roll.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Barco,
Yes.
and Mr. Fenn.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Klingenberg, and that becomes ordinance 2020-7-20. We'll now move from ordinances to resolutions. Resolution 2020-7-31 is a resolution requesting the Village of Boston Heights to receive its share of funds from the county COVID-19 local government payroll support grant program and declaring an emergency. We first need a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule in order.
I'll make a motion to suspend, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Mrs. Davis, the second. Okay. Roll call, Mrs.
Mrs.
Klingenberg.
Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
yes,
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
and Mr. Antel.
Yes.
Motion to suspend has carried. Is approved. We now ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-7-31.
I so move.
Thank you, Mr. Fenn. We have
I'll
a second.
I'll second.
Sorry, who was that? Oh, Ron Antel. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to adopt. Is there any discussion on this resolution?
If I may tell you all that we received $60,000 and almost $600 from the county to be placed in the special account regarding the resolution. We just got it on Friday.
You were a little broken up. Could you repeat that number again, please?
$60,599. Is that better? 60599.
Okay, that's good.
Good, okay,
I think everyone got that one, Betty. Thank you.
okay.
All right. Are there any questions on this? Seeing none?
I have one. What was this money for? For the COVID-19?
This is the relief money from Summit County.
The relief money for COVID-19?
Yes.
For what the village spent on COVID-19?
No,
Well, no,
it's first to go to payroll and then to the supplies required. I'm not sure why I'm getting an echo.
I don't know
Can
either.
you hear me better?
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay. That doesn't make sense.
Do you understand now, Bob, what this was? This
Could
is
you
money
say
that can
that
be used
again?
for payroll relief for the police with extra duty in that for COVID-19, and also any items we might have bought, cleaning supplies, other PPE that, masks, different things that the shields that the police would need, or our road crew, if they were doing a certain thing in a certain area.
Extra things that the village needed because of COVID-19.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion made by Mr. Fenn, second by Mr. Antal. Resolution 2020-7-31. Roll call, please, Mrs. Klingenberg.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes,
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller, and Mrs.
Yes.
Davis, and Mrs. Davis.
Yes.
Was there an echo that time? I closed my door. I didn't want to be,
there you go.
That
is
helps.
it better?
No. Okay.
Maybe that's because your office is so big. That's what the echo.
Is there an echo from the mayor's office?
No.
No. Okay, good. All right. We will go on then. This becomes Resolution 2020-7-31. All right, we'll move on to Resolution 2020-7-32, a resolution approving the 2021 budget for submission to the Summit Budget Commission and declaring an emergency. Need a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to suspend.
Okay, I think Mr. Antel was first with the motion, so that we'll make Janet Miller the second. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Seem fair? Okay.
Mr.
All
Antel,
right, we need a roll call vote then.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller, Mr. Fenn,
Yes,
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that motion carried. We need a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-7-32.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bartko. Do we have a second?
Heather will second.
Heather, thank you. Mrs. Davis. All right, any discussion on this? Betty, do you?
I will explain a few things. There's not much different. We are really up against the wall. We don't know what next year is going to bring with COVID. So we are keeping our fingers crossed and we're putting in what we hope will be a normal year. Having said that, excuse me, you will see that you have, if you go, I sent this all to you. Did anybody not get it?
Financials?
Yeah, the budget. I sent it to everybody and it has to be downtown next week. There isn't much different. I don't know what to tell you. I did also put in there that the resolution is being approved hopefully tonight for this budget. That's in that packet, as well as the legislation. So really isn't, it's a guessing game, and then we fine tune it at the beginning of the year. So of 21.
Okay. Are there any questions on this? No? Seeing none, then we have a motion made by Mr. Barco, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Roll call.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
and Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes, becomes resolution 2020-7-32. And I believe the final resolution of the evening is resolution 2020-7-33, a resolution to award the Megan's Lane resurfacing project contract to Karan Asphalt and declaring an emergency. We first need a motion to suspend the
I so
three
move.
reading rule. Thank you, Mr. Fenn. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Antel, thank you. Roll call, Betty?
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak,
Yeah. Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mr. Antel.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Motion carried. And now ask for a motion to adopt resolution 2020-7-33.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Antel. Second?
Heather will second.
Heather will second. Okay. If there's any discussion, Brian might be able to answer that, although were you here at the bid opening? I think you were.
Yes, I was.
Okay. So Karan was the apparent low bidder, correct?
Correct. If you want me to talk, I can give a quick 1-minute synopsis. So our engineer's estimate was 193,460, and Caron Asphalt was the low at 154,401. So 39,000 under our engineer's estimate. So really good prices right now. And the second was like right near Caron as well. They were like 155. And plus, we always have built in there a little bit of contingency and 25% in base repair. So the number could actually be lower by the time the project's done with.
I think you'd agree with me, Brian, that normally for a project this small, you wouldn't have too many bidders, but we had 8 bidders on this project, and some of them were some pretty big hitters. So
It would, yeah, Perrin, Kenmore, Crossroads. We had 8 bidders, and normally something like this, we might have 3 or maybe 4 at the most.
right. So
Definitely
it's good.
competitive.
Competition was there, and it did the village good, and we got a good price on getting Megan's Lane done. So are there any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion made by Mr. Antel, seconded by Mrs. Davis. Roll call.
Mr. Antel,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Fenn,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Bartko,
Yes.
Mr. Poliak.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, becomes resolution 2020-7-33. Now I'll move on to the mayor's report. That he sent out to you, the thing about mask wearing. You may or may not be aware, I think most of you are aware, however, that the county has raised our level here in Summit County to a red level, level 3. And that means that any activity outside the home in businesses or in the public, we need to wear a mask. So what's going on, we included, and I think what you got, this copy here shows you the different levels of the COVID around the state. There are some of the more populated communities now are in the red level, and fortunately have not gone to the purple. So things we have to remember, and I know I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but we have to remember social distancing with mask wearing is the most effective strategy to reduce the spread of the virus. And the different research that's been done shows that wearing masks can cut the incidence of cases by as much as 80%. So I won't dwell on that. I want to say that meetings will remain virtual for this period of time. We have approval from our legislature to go to December with virtual meetings. And depending on how this is all going, it may get continued on, I don't know. And with some of the Summit County groups that I've talked with, some of them are thinking that perhaps meetings in the future may be a combination of attended meetings for maybe certain hot item topics and virtual meetings for some of the other ones that make some sense. So, and here again, right now we're at the point we're going to be continuing with virtual meetings. The last thing I want to say is, when I left tonight at 4, the signs were still up on Boston Mills, West Boston Mills, but they are down now. The striping is all completed, so phases 3 and 4 of the Boston Mills Road project are complete. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes, Janet.
I was wondering, with us going forward into a different sense of normalcy, if there is not or might be an option that's available when we're looking at, you said we have the approval to do virtual meetings through December so far. Then you mentioned that there was an option that you could do a meeting virtual or in person when that becomes available.
Well,
So I guess my question for you is, given the fact that we're not sure about how long the COVID is going to be out there, or whether, you know, what the immunity is, or how long the immunity lasts, for our village, just give as an example, our village council, would we be able to have safely, if we felt, in-person meetings? But then if there's a couple members who feel like they have symptoms or they've been tested positive, would they be able to join virtually? So a combination of both. I wondered if that had been discussed, or if that's anything.
All I want to say is what we know right now is what Columbus, the state of Ohio, has agreed to. They have agreed to allow us to have these virtual meetings until December. We don't know if in the time, depending on what happens with the COVID, if they're going to allow us to continue those into the future, or if they're going to allow a mixture. And that was, as I said, something that some county officials were just discussing as a possibility of one of the suggestions to do that. What we do know as of right now, however, Janet, is that we cannot meet because the limit is 10 people at a governmental type meeting in a room. So as a result, by the time we get council and everyone is there, we have no place for audience. So the only way the audience has a chance to speak is virtual meetings, and they have that opportunity by using the chat and the question and answer. So
No, that's clear. I mean, thank you for re-clarifying that. I mean, in the past, when we didn't have enough, pre-COVID, when we didn't have enough council members to form a quorum, we just weren't able to pass the legislation. We didn't have the ability for someone to call in or be a part of. So I'm thinking going forward in this new universe that that would certainly be a benefit to the village for us to be able to continue to meet if someone were, say, out of town or sick. And I would hope that would be something that we would be, along with remote people working remotely and remote learning, that we would be encouraging that or supporting that. I don't know if Marshall, if that's something that that they're discussing along with the virtual meetings or the future.
the Suffolk County group,
Go ahead.
county executive and different groups that I sit in on meetings on, that has been something that's been brought up. It has not been decided. That ruling will be brought forward from the state. And I think all of us perhaps could have some input in that. The biggest issue will be if we're gonna, we couldn't, let's say, plan a meeting that everyone could attend, just a normal meeting, and then last minute, we'd have to have at least, I believe, 24 hours to announce that we're gonna make it a virtual meeting so that people could, if they wanted to call in and listen, they could, and all that. We had to make that available. So I'm sure those kind of restrictions that could be put onto it, which actually, it involves for us to put this meeting on. It seems like it's really easy here and no one has to drive anywhere, but we have to make sure we get all the facts out to you and the whole thing. And in the case of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals meetings, I know that they're a little weary of that because they get plans in that they get shrunken copies of, and it's kind of hard to review. They prefer to look at the big set of plans and decide if that's the way they want to vote on it and that. So but I'm sure, Janet, that will be something that will be discussed and might become available in the future. Okay? Anyone else have any?
Thank you.
Marshall, I see you questioning, but.
No, I just wanted to make sure that Janet's question was answered. I was trying to text the representative to see if he had any input or further thoughts or updates on it. He's texting here, HB 197, as the mayor indicated, is valid through December 1st. And so we're going to be able to meet in this format until that time. The House Bill 197 essentially suspended the in-person requirements for quorum and for voting until December 1st. And so as of December 2nd, if the General Assembly doesn't do anything further, we'll be required to meet in person again. What I don't know is from a surge perspective, what the law is going to look like or what the General Assembly is going to want to do. I mean, even as of tomorrow, the governor is expected to make some sort of special press conference, as I understand it, to talk about the recent surge in COVID cases. So we'll see what that looks like. But there's a lot of things that need to happen and change before December 1st, let alone August 1st for schools and everything else. But I would suggest and would think that right now we are going to be status quo just like this for the foreseeable future. It's my thought.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. All right, anyone
Thank you,
else have
Marshall.
questions for me? If not, we will move on to our fiscal officer report.
I
Fiscal
do
officer.
have some things tonight that I wanted to review with you. For your information, as of today, we have sold $10,491 in pool passes. And that's been when we opened on June the 20th, so that's very good. Up to this point in time, the highest communities that have purchased them are Boston Heights, Hudson, and Northfield Center. And those are the three top communities that have sold. I thought that you would like to know that at the end of the season, we'll give you a much more detailed report. But the way we're doing it with the passes does not seem to be troublesome to customers. Actually, we've had probably 3 complaints altogether, and that's all. So we're doing quite well on that. The COVID financial report I sent to you all. Hopefully you got it today. I wanted to show you, just explain further that we've not been in business long enough with COVID to determine exactly how badly we will be affected. And it's a good thing we're getting the 60,000, although that won't cover all the payroll. It will be a help, and that will be monitored by the federal government. We also have, for your information, Summit County received $17,626,000. Of that, we only got 60,000. We have some big expenses for the end of the year, which I'll go over with you next month. So if you have any questions regarding this report that I sent you, please feel free to call me or ask, do whatever you need to do. Rita is sending out, and I like this, what they've done. They're sending each community a report. And there are 3 categories with Rita. You're withholding the individual and net profit. Having said that, the average decline for us in Boston Heights is minus 36.14%. Let's hope it doesn't get any worse than that. And a lot of this is, there are 3 to 5 months before we get the money after it's been collected. And if you recall, I said that Rita also delayed the payment date for you, for everybody. And they also have forgiven a lot of other things. So that's what I wanted you to know. We're at minus 36.14%.
Does that take into the account the fact that tomorrow is tax day, right? Is that
Doesn't say that, it's just going through the debt up till July 15th is when the report encompasses till July 15th. Okay, that's it. That means, and that's, the Akron Zoo will be here for the finance meeting in a couple of weeks. You can prepare for your questions. What they really want to do is kind of tell you how this COVID is affecting them and how it's not affecting them. And so they will be anxious to visit with us that day. The fire levy has been taken down to Summit County Board of Elections. And remember, election day is November the 3rd. So they now have it. We have not received any questions about it from the board. So we're assuming it's okay right now. And I think I'm done. I'm done.
Okay,
That's the most I've had for a long time.
thank you, Betty. We'll move on to committee reports. Safety Committee, Valley Fire District, is there a report?
Nothing out of the ordinary as far as like mileage or, police and everything. I don't know if Ron Fenn or Heather has anything for Valley.
He's shaking his head no, so, okay.
No.
Roads Committee, do we have everything there?
No, we got Megan's Lane and we're getting finished up with some of these projects, and so we're just moving right along. It's sort of on autopilot.
No.
Hey,
Thank you.
Ron or Brian, do you guys know when we're having a Megan's Lane Owners Association meeting tomorrow? Do you know when that project approximately will kick off so I can let everyone know?
Well, as soon as I give this to our construction department, they'll set up a pre-construction meeting. I assume they'll have that probably sometime this month. I'll have to double check with Scott Hines, but I can probably get back to you tomorrow, Ron, on that.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to give them ideas in the next couple of months or whatever. Just
I would think, good
Okay.
weather.
you don't need to. It's just I'll just give an update, general one.
Okay, anything in the cemetery? Ron, no? Okay, lands and buildings. I'm just gonna report, I'm not sure, I did at the last meeting, the report that we did have a couple roof leaks in the police department area. We had those repaired, it was under $1,000, and so we're good to go there. Economic community development. Nothing new has come in that I'm aware of to go before the planning commission. Janet, do you have anything?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The planning commission BZA, Don,
Did not meet.
because lack of agenda items, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, engineer. All of you should have the engineer's report sent out to you, so.
I'm actually printing out my report real quick. I apologize. My printer's been on. Just so I can read it to you real quick. It's coming out literally as we speak. There we go. So like the mayor said, Boston Mills 3 and 4 is completed. They did the striping today. Our construction department will do a final walkthrough with the contractor sometime in the next couple of weeks, just to make sure any punch list items or any deficiencies. But they did a really good job with the project. I know I've walked it. The mayor has. If you haven't, I would take a drive. It's remarkable how much better it looks, and we added guardrail in places that there was no guardrail. So we've made the road safer. It's wider. So I think they did a really good job. It's nice to have Shelley and Sands as a contractor for this project, and they actually did. If you recall, they did I believe, Mayor, they did Old 8 a while back.
Yes. Shelley and Sands was the Old 8 resurfacing contractor for both phases.
And really the only other thing to report. So I think we're still waiting on. Normally I would have applied for our WC funding and would have turned it in. All that is just delayed. I pretty much look on the OPWC website every day for updates, and hasn't been updated since June. But we're actually waiting for the governor still to sign off on what we got approved last year, which was Brandywine. So as soon as we know that's gotten approved, we'll be able to formally submit a proposal so we can start doing the design and hopefully bid that out. Hopefully, like we normally do, which would be in the winter of 21. So hopefully that should actually be coming pretty soon. But I guess I'm more concerned that, if we're going to be able to apply for funding for OPWC, which is our biggest funding source for us to do our roads around the village. So we will see about that. But that's really all I have. Anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you, Brian. We'll move on to old business. No old business? Okay. I have a couple items for new business that I kind of saved to the end. One was the fact that we were asked by most all the Summit County communities were asked to pass mask legislation, but since we've gone to the red level, everybody's pretty much got mandatory anyway. I know Akron is working on one. I think they sort of backed off a little bit, so we don't have any sample legislation on that. If
Mayor,
that happens,
they passed, Mayor, Akron passed theirs last night unanimously.
okay, so we may want to take a look at that if this council is so inclined, take a look at that at the finance meeting next time and get that into place. Unless you feel we need to move quicker than that. And if you do, we could perhaps get that on the agenda, first reading next council meeting if we wanted to on the 28th of this month. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to say to you is every year NOPEC has some safety money we can use, different things we can use around the village. What I'm doing, I'm kind of hoping you can see this. That's a do not block intersection sign. We have permission from ODOT to put that up at the east end of the bridge on 303 at Old 8. And since we haven't been able to get the traffic light study finished or approved, let's say, by ODOT, want to try this. This is something we can use the money from NOPEC to pay for that sign. That sign is almost $2,000. Our guys can put it up. There is a non-flashing sign there now, but hopefully having a flashing sign will make everyone stop and not block the intersection as much as they do. So that's what we're going ahead with on that. The Park Advisory Board did some cleanup down at the park and that, and they're kind of asking that the park board kind of take a look at some areas of dead trees and different things they want to have done. So I'm going to ask them to put together a little more formalized presentation, and then we can present that to our finance committee and see what we want to do, if we want to change anything. And finally, I get something from Ohio Edison, or First Energy, that says there's a $75 rebate available through September for the purchase of qualified energy-saving thermostats. So we'll have that information here in Village Hall, or if someone's interested, they can call in. Well, I'll get Natalie put this on the website, and there's an online way they can register for that. Other than that, I have nothing else for new business. Does anyone have anything? Okay. Does anyone know of a need for executive session? All right, if not,
But I have a comment or question, suggestion.
okay. Go ahead, Janet.
I would suggest that we, for the next meeting, because we do start our finance meetings with a council meeting, right, in essence, that we do have some mask agenda legislation, just in case we would like to do it at that point. We can add it, or I think we're better off having it. Marshall was just saying Summit County, oh, I keep going black.
Akron.
It's just a suggestion. I don't know how the rest of you feel about it, but maybe having it ready just in case we would like it, and then we don't. If we can always not bring it up or vote on it if it doesn't seem necessary. But just these times are just so uncertain. Maybe that might not be a bad idea. What do you think, Marshall?
I'm happy to get that prepared. We'll use the Akron one as a model, and we'll circulate it with the mayor and to Betty and the council president, so we can get it kind of fine tuned, and I'll have one ready then for the next meeting, if that's what everybody would like to do.
Okay. Is that agreeable with the council? I see head shaking yes, so.
Okay.
I would think we'd go ahead and get that ready, and then if we feel we don't need to do it, but it's always better to have it there in case we want to do it, in case there turns out to be a spike in our area.
Janet, I can send it to you, a copy to you, if you'd like to look at it ahead of time as well.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you, Marshall.
Okay.
And I also have a kind of a question about a blind spot on Heinz Hill when you're going toward Boston Mills. And I noticed, it's been brought to my attention also. It doesn't seem like a really big significant thing, but I don't know if anyone else has noticed it or if anyone else has brought it up. When you're driving up toward Boston Mills Road on Heinz Hill, and you look to the right, and then there's that green box that sits there. I mean, I know that it can't be moved, but there's a green utility box of some sort that sits there. So when you pull up, this is essentially what happened. When I pull up, it's happened more than once. But if you pull up, you look to the right, you see no cars coming around the bend. You look to the left, which is kind of it's not a direct, it's at an angle, your left. And there's no cars. Then you look back to the right and you see no cars. And you start to turn. But in that one space of time when you go to the left and look, actually a car can be in that green box blind spot, because I pulled out and then looked in my rearview mirror and said, where did that car come from? And it's because it hits that blind spot, if you know what I'm talking about. I would just like to I don't know who to bring it up to. I didn't know where to take it to roads, or if we could put a sign somewhere, like go ahead.
Well, I believe that Brian's usually here on Thursdays. If you have time to stop up, you might be able to mention that to him. We could check it out, because I'm not envisioning where Heinz Hill actually ever intersects Boston Mills, except.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm talking about Old 8. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Old 8.
Old 8. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we can look at that yeah, if you want to come up, we could maybe take a look at that.
Yeah, I'll be at Village Hall all day from 8 to 4, so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Call
Okay.
if you want and say, yeah, this is what the area exactly, but I'm not.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Janet. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ron, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All the same sign for no or not adjourn. Continue on till our next council. Okay, we stand adjourned.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
8 o'clock.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Actually.
Bye. Stay safe. Take care.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Don, I need you to send that back to me if you could.
Yep,
Thank you, sir.
done.
All
Sent
right.
over.